We are Love and Lore. Welcome to the channel for the first time. And we are just going to talk a little about how I got her into fantasy. So for you, of those of you out there that are struggling to get friends or maybe a significant other into fantasy because you want to share that love, because it does bring us closer, gives us something to talk about, here is what we did. But first off, let's start with a couple quick introductions, just so that people know. If you're new to the channel, maybe you know us, you've seen us around. I'm Caden Love, like I said, author of Elegy of a Fragmented Vineyard and Beast Call right here. And these are dark fantasy with an organ transplant-based magic system. And
I'm the illustrator who did his cover, and I love art.
And we'll put links to my book and her art account all in the description below. But let's see. So, do you remember the first book that really clicked for you that was something I recommended?
Well, I think what you did that got me is that you understood my taste, which was nothing too stressful, some romance, and because these are the kind of movies I like, so maybe you've gotten to know my taste from the movies that I like. So the first book that Kane recommended that I read and I really liked was Yumi and the Nightmare Painter by Brandon Sanderson, and it really got me. I remember finishing the book at 2 a.m. in the morning, just listening to it because I love it so much.
And she's a huge Ghibli fan, and so I had to start out with Brandon Sanderson. Sanderson is my inspiration for writing, and I even got to meet him and give him a copy of my book. So I started there. I knew that Cosmere, one great things about it is that there's a way for everyone to find something that they like. And with the secret projects, we get so many different tastes. Even my grandma started listening to Tress of the Emerald Sea.
Yeah.
We just heard her listening to that, so it was like, oh, okay. But going back to Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, so it has, I think if it was ever to be adapted, I think as a Studio Ghibli or even an anime would be so cool. And so we got that, has cool romance, but it's also not just a book that just feels like straight up romance. It has everything, and I like romance in books, but not per se romance books, not romantasy on its own. So I think that was a good entrance point. And once you started that, there are other romances in the Cosmere.
Yeah, you were recommending a lot of books, and I feel like some of them clicked for me, some of them didn't.
We're still working on Stormlight Archive.
Yes, the Storm Archive that didn't really click for me right away because, like I said, I prefer lighter stuff, and it literally starts depressing. So I don't know. at least one of the storylines in it is kind of depressing. So I don't think maybe I'll come back to it later, because what I've realized with the books that you've been recommending me is that I've my tolerance for heavy themes and length of the books even has gone up as I read more books. So I feel like I might come back to Stormlight Archive later in my life when I've gotten a little bit more books under my belt, and maybe I'll be able to digest it then.
And that's definitely one that, it's not one you recommend to someone starting out to fantasy right away, but I recommend it to you a little later. And that's the thing, knowing what she likes, and if she, starts a book and doesn't finish it, gives me kind of an idea of what she likes. And there's been so many times where, particularly, we'll get into Name of the Wind and Wise Man's Fear, there was a scene that really upset her, and it's not like a death, it's just someone not wanting to be a friend with another, essentially like that. And she was so distraught, and it's these things don't even faze me anymore. And I search out books that are going to shake me emotionally because I love that riveting thing. And so it brought a lot of discussions about why you need that. You need the darkness to see the light. And, I'm not going around, even though I've told her how much I love Malazan, that one, I'm not getting her to that. That one has so much darkness, but it gets you with some great light. And so you work with these things, and I think one of the great things that Sanderson has is, though he does get into sometimes darker themes, heavier moments, but he's always got a little bit of humor there. and romance definitely sparks it up. So that's why I suggested that she read Mistborn next, which the Mistborn trilogy is my favorite trilogy.
And I really loved it, but I do want to say that it was a little harder to get through Mistborn than some other books we recommended. I think I've read it a little bit too early in my fantasy book life. I think I would have preferred to switch which books I read first. And so if you have a girlfriend who's really into like romantasy and like sweet and warm fuzzies, I would start with books like You Mean Nightmare Painter, and maybe before recommending Mistborn, I would tell her to read Warbreaker, Emperor's Soul. These were the 3 main books that like felt soft enough for me that I flew through really easily. So I feel like these are the good starting points.
And like you said, I think Warbreaker is another good one. And it as easy. I told her it's about a cool princess and really colorful magic. And sometimes she just goes for these things like that. And, I can disguise any book and make it sound like how great it is, but she'll eventually figure it out. That's the thing. I've got to give her something she'll like. Did you like Tress?
I think Tress was even too soft for me.
Okay.
I realized that I'm not a huge fan of like middle school literature, and it felt a little bit like middle school kind of book. So that was... I liked it, but it wasn't really, like, my thing.
And I feel like I'm a lot more picky with YA. I will read it, and there's some books, like Children of Blood and Bone is technically YA, but I loved it. Some people would count Mistborn as YA. I really enjoy it, but I probably won't ever go back and read Percy Jackson. I know, sorry if I'm hurting a lot of people, which she did actually read.
Yeah.
Because she didn't read those growing up. Harry Potter, always will go back to that one. But like I said, I need more complex things. And like with my book, I compare it to Stormlight in a way that Sanderson doesn't put a lot of, per se, adult content that would restrict children from reading it. It's just a lot of things will go over their head. Heavier themes, more complex things, especially politically wise. But the thing is that I think there are some valuable things in YA literature, and you don't need to always categorize it that. But she really did get into a couple series that she really liked. And I didn't read them, but she told me a lot about them, and they're pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm, like, for some reason, YA really hits with me, probably because the level of, like, heavy themes there matches my tolerance. So, I think it's my favorite series that I've ever read is Lunar Chronicles, which is funny because, like, I feel like it was written for teenagers, and here I am, an adult woman that is like, oh, I love this. So, if your girlfriend likes Lunar Chronicles and, like, fairy tale retellings, like I said, some of Brandon Sanderson's books might really hit for them, too.
Mm-hmm. And she did some amazing fan art for it. Well, and so that's kind of where we're at right now. So why don't you tell us what you're reading right now?
Right now I'm reading Elantris, and I'm reading it because actually not you, but my other friend recommended it to me, saying that it had like a great romance, if I'm not mistaken. And I mean, I can see it coming. I like that in the beginning of the book it gives you hints that, oh, some romance might happen, and I'm like, okay, I'll keep reading. So yeah, that one I like so far.
Mm-hmm. And so she's got that right now, and I think there are plenty of things out there. Like I said, she's read Name of the Wind, Wise Men's Fear, and some of the ones that I do want her to get to eventually. I think that she'll really love Shallan in Stormlight Archive. She's an artist. And I think, going back to Yumi the Nightmare Painter, I showed her some of those illustrations, and they were so beautiful, and that's something fun about Stormlight. And down the line, I loved the drama in Joe Abercrombie's Age of Madness, and I don't think she'll ever get there.
I don't think I'll ever get Joe Abercrombie.
But that's some hope. So that's where we're at. Thank you all for joining this channel. If you have any good, fun fantasy that isn't too heavy and dark and has some good romance in it that you'd love to recommend to Seema,
please
drop it down in the comments, and we'll put our links to our socials there. And make sure to like and subscribe, because we'll be doing more content like this.
Thank you for watching.